Okay, let's talk about types of leadership positions. So I'm just doing this at the high level, and different countries, different types of organizations have different titles around these. So I'm just kind of grouping them into leader of leaders, manager, and then an individual contributor. And so the difference here is a leader of leaders. So I lead people who work for me, have people who work for them, who have people working for them. So I'm a leader of leaders. And that's a different job than if you have a team of 8 who report to you and you're the direct manager, they're doing day-to-day work. There's different parts to it. So let's just talk. So here at the top, at least in the US, in tech companies, generally the titles up here would be CTO, VP, or directors. Just depends a little bit how you do it. But you are working on the strategy that allows the direct managers to actually do their job. So things like policy matter a lot in these roles. So what's our deploy policy? How do we, what's our testing philosophy? And the goal there is to sort of build a pattern that'll work layers below. A manager, this is probably what people think of when they think of management, sort of, it can be a tech lead. The title can be manager. It really depends on the organization. But this is somebody who, most of their direct reports are shipping code or writing code or doing testing or doing whatever. But the goal of a manager is to bring clarity and make sure the direction kind of more local for that team is actually happening. So the trains are running on time, kind of thing. And then obviously, so individual contributor in my mind, even though, and this would be a developer, senior individual contributors absolutely must have some of the values and goals of leadership. Because if you're a technical leader in the company, a visionary, you're driving the architecture, you need to understand and empathize and empower teams, right? That's your goal has to align there. If you're more junior, you're just trying to get your pull request merged. But more senior, you definitely need to kind of shift your thinking. So, these attributes of leadership even go all the way, in this sort of hierarchy. I want to talk about some of the other attributes of these different roles. So a leader of leader, it's a much larger scope of a job. So your impact is larger. And when you're an individual contributor, typically speaking, you're focused more on a direct outcome. On the downside, leader of leaders, things are more abstract. And developers were people who write code. I started writing code. That's how I got into this business. And that's direct, right? You're so used to things that are physical and direct and happen. It's a little more difficult to be in the abstract zone. And there's more unknowns. So by the time a decision's gotten done to an individual contributor, if you've done your job right, there's technical stuff to figure out, but everything else should have mostly been understood about what success is. But towards the top, it is very vague. You have to figure out a lot of stuff. And I'll get to this one later, but this is true. That you might naively think that like a VP, we just walk around feeling satisfied all day because we're in charge and that's what that means. But you actually, it's way more difficult to understand that where it goes in the next one. When is the org good enough, right? When are my teams happy or satisfied or, it's really hard to know, there's no moment where you're just like, wow, I did it. And, I think that's one of the hardest parts about, being a leader of leaders, where obviously if you're an individual contributor, you're like, the project launched, or I did this thing, and there's like something physical that comes out. There's actually an output. And a manager is somewhere in between on all of these. But the higher you go up the ladder, the more you're the one having to bring clarity on success. It's on you. Nobody's going to tell you that you did a good job. Flat out, nobody's going to tell you you did a good job.